For my Genius Hour project, I chose to do the different perspectives of child development, and so that includes cognitive, psychosexual, psychosocial, and etc., etc. My first driving question is, how many different stages of development are there in children? And that's where we look at Freud's perspective and Erikson's perspective on development. So Freud's psychosexual development includes the 5 stages. So his view has 5 stages, which would be oral, anal, phallic, latency, and genital. Oral focuses on mouth, which was from birth to 1-year-old. Anal is waste deposit from 1 to 3 years old. Phallic is the feelings that they get towards their parents, kind of an envy, but it could be of like the maturation that the parents have compared to them. So the Electra complex, where the daughter would be infatuated with her father. And then the 4th stage is latency, which is sexual feelings stay dormant. So this is 6 to puberty, so they're not really thinking about that. And genital, which is sexual concentration, which is from puberty to death, so adulthood basically. Erikson's psychosocial perspective is 8 stages, so instead of 5, it's 8. And this is the trust versus mistrust, which is birth to 1 years old, which is very independent, or very dependent on caregivers. So when they need bottle, they cry. When they need attention, when they need change, etc. So if child develops trust, he feels like security in the world, and then if not, the world is not predictable, and he doesn't like feel confident with the world or himself. And then autonomy versus shame, which is early childhood, is being able to control bodily functions, gives the child a sense of independence, like being able to go to the toilet when they have to, or not, being in diapers, makes them feel more independent if they are, potty trained and they get to pick their clothes and their food. But you want to have balance in that, or that's where they will start feeling dependent upon people and not like confident or independent. Then the 3rd stage is initiative versus guilt, which is preschool years, and it focuses on direct play and social interactions. So this stage being successful for you means you're capable to lead others, and then failure would mean self-doubt. Industry versus inferiority is 5 to 11, which is pride among accomplishments, encouragement in order to feel belief in their skills. That's successful in this stage. That's what would be the outcome. If not, doubt comes from this stage. The next stage is identity versus confusion, which is adolescence, and this is encouragement or reinforcement of knowledge through self-exploration. So that really kind of comes from the parent, how much freedom you're willing to give your child. And if they have that, then they'll feel independence, self-control, confidence, and then if not, they'll be insecure, confused, and not really prepared for real-world things. Intimacy versus isolation is early adulthood, which is exploring personal relationships. Believed committed relationships with other people are vital. So it could be with friends or a romantic other. Just feeling secure and having someone to go to is really important. And then if this is successful, you'll feel committed and secure. You also need a strong sense of personal identity in order to have intimate relationships. If you've ever heard anybody say, love yourself before you love anybody else, it's the same idea. Generativity versus stagnation, which is in adulthood. It focuses on career and family while building successful lives. So a lot of people say, I want to be married and I want to have a career, I want to graduate from college, and that's kind of the successful aspect of it. It's being active in their home and community, and failure is unproductive and uninvolved. Integrity versus despair. This is old age. Reflecting back on life. So failure would be your life was a waste. So this is really reflecting back on the other stages, if they were successful or not, and if they were, you would feel few regrets, satisfaction, attain wisdom, even with death, and failure would be life is a waste, bitter, disparity. Cognitive development is the third perspective that we'll be looking at from Piaget, which is 4 stages, which are sensory motor. That's infant, when they don't have object permanence, so peekaboo, hide and seek, senses, and manipulating objects. Pre-operational is kids, like younger kids, pretend, play, but struggle with logic and seeing from different perspectives. So this kind of relates with they have a good imagination, but they don't have logical thinking skills. Formal operational is increase in logic, ability to use deductive reasoning, understanding abstract ideas. So this is, some people never reach this stage. This is when you're, thinking outside the box, or, could be as small as expanding vocabulary. And then the last view is humanistic by Maslow, and there's also 5 stages like Freud. Physiological or biological is the oxygen, food, water, shelter. Safety is the second, which is like security, if you have a job, if you obtain resources, your morality, family, health, property. Love, belonging is friendship, family, and then sexual intimacy or relationships. Esteem, self-esteem, confidence, achievement, so like feeling good about yourself and others feeling good about you. And then self-actualization, which can sometimes not be achieved by everyone, involves morality, creativity, acceptance, and uniqueness, which not everyone finds their place in what they're good at, so some people never reach that. My second driving question is, how far behind do children have to fall in order to be considered slow in developing? And this is when you get into the remedial programs. Those are different from special ed programs, so children with special needs they're in remedial programs, but they are different programs for them. And it just addresses gaps in basic skills, and it's not used all throughout their school career. It's used to get them back on target to be with the rest of kids their age, and it's extra support to catch them up to their peers. Special ed is for children with ongoing needs. Remedial is just closing gaps to catch back up. My third driving question is, if children are ahead, are they most likely to be higher achieving academically or in their career? Some people say grade skipping is bad for the social aspect of children because they are with children that are 5 years older, if not more. But experts say acceleration at the right time is best for the child, and older kids are actually more peers to them. They might have more social experiences than the child going into their grade, but they are the same academically and cognitively. Accelerated students who receive appropriate support should not suffer from emotional or social fallbacks, because they should be, to be moved up, you have to be emotionally stable, emotionally developed, and things like that to be able to handle the workload that you're dealing with. And then it highly depends on the student's role in their current life. So if they're not mature, if they don't have a good social life, if they're in sports and like for the grade that they're in, then they shouldn't move up. Their family, support system, friends, that really matters too. Just because a student does not skip a grade or move ahead does not mean that a student should remain constant with people the same age if they're supposed to be accelerated. So they are accelerated emotionally and socially still most of the time, and that means that they should be with maybe higher achieving students in their grade or older students. And they need to have more experiences and extended interests in order to put their knowledge to the table. The challenging these kids are very important, or else they'll never reach their full potential, and boredom is worse than too many challenges in this case. My fourth driving question is it difficult to keep a child with special needs on track with development, and how is it different? Dealing with special needs students is very different. It can be harder to focus on the child, and it has misbehavior, and you have to embrace that. You have to be positive and assign buddies. Training, growth, and the variation in needs is very significant. Then my fifth driving question is, if a child is considered slow in developing, does that affect their adulthood? And biologically, yes, but the way they're raised really affects it. So my conclusion is, I've correlated the pre-obtained knowledge from class regarding Freud and the perspectives of other significant psychologists in developmental stages while broadly exploring my own connecting education with psychology.